this is where things get really interesting, because we can just leave this as is, right? And we can just have this whole thing just fade in and fade out. Right, so I can take this, take the opacity, fades in, fades out. There's our graphic. Not very exciting though when we're making lower thirds. It's not going to catch anyone's eye and it's not going to do anything. So let's make this a little bit more exciting. And in part 2, we want this Stanislaw Roberta, whatever our title is, to be revealed by this bar. So basically, when I take this text and I drop it down here, it disappears, right? Well, to do that, I need something to mask it out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click this and add a image mask. And so I have a couple options here. I've got my title bar, right? I've got this title bar, and this one is actually going to work pretty great. If I drag this into my image mask, turn that back on, if this title goes outside of this title bar, it'll disappear. So for example, right? And the reason for that is this text layer is saying anything that shows up just in this specific bar will show up. Anything outside of this, it is a mask, so it doesn't use it. And now what I want to do is I want to work on my timing. So I'm thinking to myself, this is going to build in, meaning it's going to animate on across a second. By the time it gets to about 1 second, this text is going to start moving from the bottom up. So, and I want this to end by about 1 second and 20 frames. So I'm going to take my title text and just make a keyframe there and move back to about 1 second. And now I'm going to just plop that right down here. And I'm going to play that back, see how that looks. So right now it's just going to pop up. Pretty good. I want the same thing to happen, but with this subtitle here. So maybe it's going to start right here. And I'm going to take my subtitle and we're going to need to mask this guy out. Luckily, we can use this same title bar, but just turn it inside out. Before, this title bar said anything that was outside of it, this layer won't show up. So if I take this, right-click it, add an image mask, and I drag my title bar back in it, notice it disappears. I turn my title bar back on, but my text isn't showing up. Well, that's because it's not in this box, right? So I want to turn that inside out. I'm going to go to my image mask, and here I'm going to go to invert mask. And now it works the same exact way, except opposite. So I could have it disappear. Great. So we're going to take this to about 2 seconds and 20 frames, and I'm just going to animate that piece, play that back, name comes up, subtitle. Perfect. The last part of the magic here is animating this reveal bar. So I'm going to take this reveal bar, right? And we wanted this to end right about here. Right now I'm just going to take this reveal bar and I'm going to solo it by either hitting Alt Option or right-clicking and going to Solo. And I'm going to create a keyframe right here at 1 second. And I'm going to drag it to 0 seconds. And I'm going to drag it straight to the left. So far left, it's all the way off my canvas. So when I play that back, there it goes. Now I'm going to unsolo everything real quick. So I'm going to unsolo by right-clicking. So now it's going to look like this. Pop, pop. So far, so good. Except I need this to wipe everything off. Well, if you remember before, we had a mask kind of reveal this stuff, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw a new rectangle that isn't going to be visible. That's just going to be that bar, right? So I can actually come down to my subtitle bar and we're going to duplicate this. And I'm just going to call this reveal mask. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the color off. And I want to just make this bright white. And we're going to put it right up on top here. And the reason for that is because I want to make sure that it covers everything. So it actually has to be bigger than everything else. So it's got to be bigger than this. And we're basically going to use it to cover everything. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, turn my color back on, is I'm going to drag it straight to the right. And I want it right at the edge of that reveal bar. With me so far? And I can see already that I need to drop this just a little bit more to cover my reveal bar. And I probably need to make this just a bit larger. All right, so you're probably wondering yourself, well, why are we doing this? Why do we need this reveal bar? All will be explained. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this reveal mask. I'm going to add a behavior to it. And there's this really great behavior called link. And what link does is it basically says, I'm going to take the information from one object and apply it to another object. So if I take this link, I drop it on my reveal mask, I can say, hey, this link is awesome. What we're going to do is use the source here of our reveal bar. We're going to take our target parameter and apply it to all position. And we're going to get the information from this source, properties, transform, position, all. And you'll notice what that's done here is it's taken the anchor point of that specific layer and applied it accordingly. That's going to work out great, except there's one thing we need to do is we need to take this reveal mask and just move its anchor point all the way to the edge here, right about there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I've got my lower third. I'm actually going to take my reveal bar and drag it into a new layer. And that's going to be called the reveal. And my lower third, the whole thing is going to use an image mask of the reveal mask. And just like before, we've got to go into our image mask and invert it. So now, when I play this back, notice that it reveals that. So what is happening here? So let me turn on this reveal mask again, right? And so there's a reveal mask. And what that reveal mask is doing right here is you can see how it's moving across. And because it's applied to this whole layer, right, we can actually move this right into the reveal bar here. It doesn't really matter. So all that's doing here is saying, hey, use this image to mask everything out. So now that wipes on. It looks like the bar is wiping it on. And the very last thing we need to do here is take the same reveal bar, how it moves in to out, right here in our keyframes. Open up our keyframe graph. And we're going to take these two keyframes, Command C. We'll take this to about 6+ seconds and hit Command V. And we're left with something that looks a little funky. We're not going to do anything with that other than grab those last two, right click, reverse keyframes. So now what we're left with is this. Animates on, name pops up, sits there for a couple seconds, and then at the 6-second mark, wipes back off. Now, if I want to export this, there's one very important thing I want to do here. If I export this, if I go to Share, Export Movie, if I export this as an H.264, it's going to be a solid black background with my text, and that's not what we want. What we want to do is we actually want to go to ProRes 4444, Render, Color, and Alpha. This is very important. We have an alpha channel here, which is our transparency. So this is actually what will render out. You won't see this checkerboard. What that checkerboard means is that it's clear. So all you'll see is this graphic. If you render it out in H.264, you will be left with a black background on top of your stuff. So when you actually put it into your videos, it's going to be solid like that. If instead you want to use this in Final Cut, what we can do is we can actually hit File, Publish Template, and we can say, hey, this is going to be a AV Ultra free classes lower third demo. And I'm going to say save a preview movie, publish as Final Cut Pro generator. And now that will show up automatically in Final Cut. So if I go to Final Cut Pro, and if I go to my generators, I've got my AV Ultra, lower third demo, and there it is. And there it is. Animates on, and then it animates off. Hopefully you found this tutorial useful. Shout out to Travis Watson. And if you like this, make sure you subscribe to my channel, AV Ultra. Thanks a lot, and see you next time.